Hope everybody's doing well today. Today's message is titled, Don't Get Derailed. I want us to focus on how, when a train gets derailed, it gets off track. My goal in this message is for us to understand the reason to not get off of track. There's so many things in our lives that get us off track. So, if you might be able to remember, there were days, seems like so long ago now, there were days where people decided not to come to church because there was too much snow. It was a bad snow day, so they said, "Oh, I'm gonna stay in today. It's not safe to drive out today." But there were also Sundays where we didn't go to church because of too much life. We did too much partying. We got too turned up on Saturday night that we didn't make it on Sunday. But the thing is, the devil doesn't take a snow day. But you know what? God doesn't either. You ever notice that we give the devil unlimited power, but then we put God's power in a box? We always talk about if God can, but then we talk about the devil will, or the devil does, or the devil made me, all these different things. Or, we put so much power into the devil and take so much power away from God. But why are we worshiping the devil if he's so powerful and he runs so much of our lives? It doesn't make sense for us to worship an inferior God since the devil seems to be more powerful than him. Now you probably think that I'm crazy for saying such a thing. Well, you're crazy for believing, and you might not actually believe in that, but your actions say that you do. The amount of energy and focus you put on the devil seems like he is running the show when he's not. He's not he's not in charge. I always talk about the devil's not a main character in the Bible. If there was a poster for the Bible, his name would not be on the top for the top billing. We mention what the devil does more than what God does. So my question is, are you on God's radar? In Job chapter 1, verse 6 through 8, it reads, "One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, 'Where have you come from?' Satan answered the Lord, 'From roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it.' Then the Lord said to Satan, 'Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil.'" So when you focus here, God brought Job up. Does God bring you up when he's talking about his friends, when he's talking about his servants, when he's talking about his people that shun evil and are shameless, or are blameless, excuse me? Or are you on the devil's radar? In Acts chapter 19, 13 through 16, some Jews who went around driving out evil spirits tried to invoke the name of the Lord Jesus over those who were possessed. They would say, "In the name of Jesus, whom Paul preaches, I command you to come out." 7 sons of Sceva, or Siva, a Jewish chief priest, were doing this. One day, the evil spirit answered them, "Jesus I know, and I know about Paul, but who are you?" Then the man who had the evil spirit jumped on them and overpowered them all. He gave them such a beating that they ran out the house naked and bleeding. Naked and bleeding. Now I have 3 brothers. I would hope that if I was fighting and getting my clothes beat off of me, that they would help. I doubt that these 7 brothers were like, "Oh, it's your turn, one-on-one rules, no jumping in." This demon overpowered them all. But let's look at these brothers. These guys were believers. They believed in God. They believed in Jesus. We would call them Christians today. Their father was a high priest, meaning he was in charge of some things in that area. So these were some PKs that were out here trying to do some work. A lot of problems that need to be addressed with those that call upon God. Majority of the New Testament is a letter to churches about things they need to get together, and these are people that call upon the name of God. Are you on the devil's radar? That demon said, I heard about Paul, and I know Jesus, but I ain't never heard of y'all. If you're not on the devil's radar, then it's not the devil that's causing your issues. That's all on you or some other individual that you invited into your life. We invite too many people into our lives. Now, this is a long metaphor that I'm about to use, okay? But it will make sense, trust me. We're inviting too many people into our lives. Think of your life as a sporting event or a concert, whichever one you relate to more. Now, in basketball, there's courtside tickets. In baseball, there's the tickets behind the dugout. That's the prime seating. In football, it's at the 50-yard line, so you can see everything evenly. Then, in concerts, you have the VIP backstage passes or backstage tickets. In other sporting events, you have the luxury box that's up top, but they have monitors, and I love the luxury box because there's so much food and you can order anything. But you also have the nosebleed sections. Now, people in the nosebleed sections, they know what's going on, but they also don't know what's going on. Like, they don't have a good view of all the details about what's happening, but they're happy to be there. You have some people outside of the sporting event or the concert, and they're trying to get in, either try to sneak in or try to buy a ticket off of someone to get in because they just want to be there. At baseball games, there's sections behind the fence in grass areas where people lay down blankets and they watch the game. They're just happy to be there. But there's also people that watch sports on TV. So why do some people sit front row versus the nosebleed sections? It's because they paid differently. The nosebleed sections cost a lot less than the front row, the curbside, the courtside, tickets. So there was a story a few years ago out of New York where the marketing department for the New York Yankees sent out an email to all their season ticket holders. A season ticket holder is a person that buys, they get all of the home games for the entire season for their team, and they can go to all of them. Now, these people were selling their season tickets because you get them at a discount when you buy all of them at the same time. They were selling their tickets and profiting off of them. The marketing department sent to all their season ticket holders and said, hey, do not sell your tickets to people because people that would buy them are not used to sitting in such good seats. They said it's not fair to people that paid full price for their ticket to have to sit next to someone who didn't pay full price and doesn't know how to act the way a person who paid full price would act sitting in such premium seats. They basically said, folks don't know how to act because they aren't used to nice things, so don't give them your tickets. See, in our lives, we are sometimes giving people good seats that don't know how to act when they're in them. Sometimes we don't need to broadcast our lives on Facebook or Instagram. You are giving people watching the game on TV VIP access that they don't deserve. When you watch it on at home on your couch, you don't get the same access as someone that gets a backstage pass, right? We need to stop allowing certain people to our lives, period. We have to stop inviting certain people to our events of our lives. Not everybody needs a backstage pass to your life because they didn't all come to cheer for you. Sometimes those people came to boo you. There's people that are literally checking your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever just to see the kind of turmoil and problems that you're in. These people coming into your life trying to have input, are they helping you, hurting you, or complicating your thought process? Plenty of people come in God's name too. So don't just think because they're a Christian or they go to church or anything like that that it is good. The 7 sons believed in God and they felt they were doing good work. They probably knew some scriptures too. The family involved shouldn't have called those 7 brothers. They should have exorcised that demon themselves. The sooner you realize that you don't need someone else to do the job, the better off you'll be. The sooner you realize that you have power through God, the better off you'll be. People come into your life for 1 or 4 reasons: to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. How many people in your lives are there subtracting or dividing? Sometimes we're investing in the wrong people. And you have the wrong people investing in you sometimes. You can't take financial advice from a bum on the street. Now, some people will say, well, they might have had something, they can teach you wisdom and how not to lose it and things like that. You can have that person. I want the person that got there, kept it, grew it, cultivated, and all these different things. I don't want the person that I might take some wisdom from them in passing, but that's not who I want to mentor me. I want the person that's grown it, that's continued to keep it. Give me the person that never lost it. Also, we have to stop investing in the wrong person. Sometimes you're investing in the wrong people. You can start off helping someone and they can end up trying to destroy you. Let's look at David and Saul. In 1 Samuel 16, it talks about how David started out in Saul's service. In the next chapter, it talks about that Saul didn't even know who David was. And we discussed that a number of times because of how messed up Saul was because of the tormenting that was going on in his body. Then in chapter 18, we learn that Saul is now jealous of David. What started out as an assignment of good turned dangerous for David. David started off playing the harp to help Saul out when he was being tormented. It started out for good, and then it became dangerous for David. We go in trying to help someone, and they end up being a problem for us. Saul believed in God, right? He was a believer. He wasn't a devil worshiper. He wasn't a pagan. He wasn't an atheist or anything. He knew God. Most of our attacks and most of our detractors come from people that worship the same way as we do. And I'm not bashing the church. I'm speaking of fact. We don't say that Paul was bashing the church when he sent all these letters trying to correct them, do we? No, he's speaking the truth and trying to improve them. Now there's this trend in Christian hip hop music where they bash the church and talk about how the world isn't that bad, but the church shunned them and everything like that. And I'm not saying the world isn't bad, and I'm not saying that people don't have church hurt and things that go on. But I'm not concerned about the world. God said that he will take care of the world, so let him do his job. Let us focus on the believers. Let us stop trying to cozy up to the non-believer and start focusing on the believers. In 1 Corinthians 5, verse 12 through 13, but now I am writing you that you must not associate with anyone who calls himself a brother, but is sexually immoral, or greedy, or an idolater, or a slanderer, a drunkard, or a swindler. With such man do not even eat. What business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside? God will judge those outside. Expel the wicked man among you. No, so people will say, well, only God can judge me. Church people are always judging people. Those are two things people always say. Paul literally says, aren't we supposed to judge the people in the church? But we are to judge the fruit, not the tree. Now I'll explain what that means. I can pick an apple from a tree, try it, and say that it's bad, say that it's rotten. But I cannot say that the tree is bad because I have no authority, I have no insight about the tree. I can only judge this fruit that I grabbed and tasted and say this is bad. That's what we're supposed to do with our fellow believers. When someone is in sin, when their fruit is bad, we are supposed to judge it and call it out and tell them. If not, why not? That's the biggest show of love, is to let someone know what they're doing is wrong. Are you letting God take care of the unbeliever in your life? What about the believer? Call them out. Who have you called out? Are you courageous enough to call someone out? Jesus told you to. Matthew 18:15, if a brother sins against you, go and show him his fault. Just between the two of you. Don't blast him on Facebook. If he listens to you, you have won the brother over. But if he will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, treat him as you would a pagan or a tax collector. And it's very funny that Matthew's the one writing this. He's like, well, I know how y'all treat tax collectors. Start treating them like that, the folks that don't listen. People are going to come in your life that need to be told about themselves. If they weren't, then Jesus wouldn't have mentioned it. Job had some friends that believed in God as well, who thought they were doing God's work when they came to visit him. Research that story with the visit of Job's friends. It starts in Job chapter 3, and you see what his friends were on. His friends stared at him for 7 days in awe of his condition. People will come and get you off track, to get you derailed. People are trying to help. People you are trying to help can get you off track. People that you're trying to help can get you derailed. Figure out what people are in your life, and then figure it out. Time is so valuable. One of Maya Angelou's most overused quotes is, when people show you who they are, believe them. People are telling you who they are and how they are and why they are. Stop making excuses for people trying to make them fit into what you want them to be. And believe them. The square peg can't go into the round hole. No matter how hard you try, it doesn't fit. The sooner you figure out all of those things, the better off you will be, the better off you'll do in your mission. Do not get derailed off of your mission. Stay on track. You have a job to do. Thank God for the blessing for reading the word. You guys have a great week. Bye.